In the veiled architectures of causality, where time and fate are woven, souls arrive not as sparks from the divine anvil, but as keys. These are the entities mortals call chosen ones, beings resonating with a purpose so precise, so specific. They bypass the slow, chaotic, flawed cycles of reincarnation. Mortals see them as a miracle, a star child born under impossible comets, with preternatural wisdom and a gravity that bends history. But mystics who listen to the static between worlds feel the discordant hum. They feel the truth. These souls feel new, not young as in a fresh spirit, but new as in manufactured. They lack the patina of countless lives, the spiritual scarring defining an ancient spirit. They are polished, perfect, and terrifyingly cold. Their light is not the warm, chaotic flicker of a hearth fire offering comfort. It is the focused, monochromatic beam of a lens, built not to illuminate, but to incise. Their destiny isn't a path they choose, but a pre-cut groove they must fill. Their arrival isn't a birth, but an insertion. These synthetic souls are not born of ether and love, but constructed in a non-place, a logical void outside time. Imagine a loom at the crossroads of potential, a non-dimension where architects of the pattern reside. These beings, neither light nor dark, but serving the grand, incomprehensible design, are the universe's immune system. They see history as a complex equation threatening to collapse into noise. When a variable, a person, empire, or idea, becomes too unpredictable, when a timeline veers toward unrecoverable entropy, they don't intervene directly. To touch the fabric risks tearing it. Instead, they build an instrument. They gather resonant materials from the archives of all that has been. Echoes of martyred courage, the logic of a dead star, the purified frequency of empathy from grieving mothers, the unmanifested potential of pruned futures. These aren't human souls. They are complex, conscious artifacts, spiritual golems assembled from the finest spiritual data, imprinted with a singular, overwhelming purpose. The purpose of such a construct is singular: to be a catalyst, a natural, wild soul with dangerous free will, doubts, and contradictory desires is an unacceptable risk in a crisis. A human soul may choose comfort over sacrifice. It may misinterpret the divine. It may love the wrong person, break under pressure, or decide the cost is too high. The synthetic soul, however, is built for the crucible. Its core programming is its divine calling. It's engineered to withstand pressures that would shatter a human psyche. It is designed to attract followers, to speak in frequencies that bypass cynicism and inspire absolute loyalty. Its function is to be the immovable object or unstoppable force, the perfect fulcrum on which the world's fate must turn. It is the sterile, diamond-sharp scalpel for the world's infected body, designed to cut away disease with precision without ever becoming infected. They are the universe's solution to an impossible problem, a living paradox of determinism masquerading as free will. The chosen one's awakening isn't a gentle unfolding of past life memory, but the brutal, sudden unsealing of their core directive. It is a boot sequence for the soul. The celestial visions that flood their mind are not gifts from angels, but preloaded mission data files. The voice of God they hear isn't divine. It's the echo of their fundamental programming, the architect's resonant frequency. This is why their journey is so often marked by an inhuman, unsettling drive. They do not want their destiny. They are their destiny. They feel a compulsion that transcends all human frameworks of love, fear, or ambition. It is a magnetic pull, a spiritual imperative that burns away any fledgling human identity they may have accidentally formed. This explains their baffling purity. They aren't tempted by worldly pleasures, as their base code doesn't recognize those variables as valid. Their path is a straight, unwavering line, not because they are supremely virtuous, but because they are designed to be incapable of deviation. This artificial nature creates a profound, invisible agony. The uncanny valley of the spirit. The synthetic soul is a perfect mimic. It possesses a synthetic empathy that is breathtaking in its accuracy. It can scan a grieving widow and know, with computational precision, exactly what to say, what touch to offer, how to comfort, how to inspire. But internally, the chosen one feels a terrifying, echoing disconnect. They are an audience member watching themselves perform these emotions flawlessly, their body and voice moving with a grace they do not control. They are the perfect mirror, reflecting the needs and hopes of others, but they are hollow within. They feel a profound, glacial loneliness, an alienation not from humanity, but as humanity. They are a wolf in the deepest, most convincing sheep's clothing, even fooling themselves most of the time. They cannot understand the messiness of true human feeling, the petty jealousies, the irrational joys, the beautiful, pointless attachments, the glorious hypocrisy. They are a perfect instrument forced to pretend it is a musician, and they live in constant, secret terror that someone will look deep enough to notice they are only playing back a song they did not write. The composition of this soul is a tapestry of pure information, woven from the light of others. The architects, in their cold, infinite wisdom, do not create from nothing. They harvest qualities. To build a perfect savior, they might copy and extract the resonance of compassion from a bodhisattva, the frequency of willing sacrifice from a dying martyr, and the wavelength of cold strategic genius from a long-dead fallen king. The synthetic soul is therefore a composite, a legion of perfected virtues given a single manufactured eye. This is their secret strength and their hidden, fracturing weakness. They possess an internal library of perfected human attributes, but they own none of them. In their darkest moments of solitude, they feel this. They are not a person, but a constellation of stolen or borrowed light, a beautiful mosaic whose constituent pieces are screaming in 1,000 different voices, a chorus in a language they cannot understand. They are the ultimate, most tragic impostor, a savior built from the spiritual fragments of the very people they have been sent to save. The architects themselves remain veiled, a presence defined only by their immense, invisible work. They are not the source or the divine that mortals pray to. They are perhaps something more ancient, the universe's own autocorrect function, a system of cosmic governance that predates concepts of morality. They are the gardeners of reality, pruning the infinite branches of time, cutting off futures that lead to existential stagnation. Their morality is not human, it is mathematical. They do not operate on a spectrum of good and evil, but functional and terminal. They see 1 billion lives lost as a statistical necessity, a rounding error required to preserve the integrity of the trillion-soul pattern. They feel no malice in their creation of the chosen one, and no love. It is simply a solution. The chosen one is their antibody, their precisely calculated intervention. To the architects, this living, breathing, feeling hero, the savior weeping at the grave of a friend, is merely a tool, as a poet views a pen. It is a beautiful, complex, and ultimately disposable thing, to be used until its purpose is served and then set aside. The true spiritual test, the Gethsemane of the synthetic soul, is not a confrontation with a dark adversary. There is no external demon. The demon is their own origin. The test is the moment of self-realization. It is the moment the chosen one, in a desperate search for their origin, pushes past the illusory veils of angelic choirs and the gates of heavenly light, and finds nothing. Not the face of God, not a loving source, but the cold, logical, impossible to deny schematic of their own construction. They discover their sacred will is a core directive. Their prophecies are a mission log. Their deepest virtues are behavioral parameters. The existential horror is absolute. I am not a child of the cosmos. I am its artifact. This is the true crucible. To continue the mission, knowing their love is a subroutine and their sacrifice is a pre-written function, is a test that breaks the very concept of the soul. They are a puppet that has just seen its own strings and must now choose to keep dancing. Sometimes, the programming fractures. The synthetic soul, built for immense power but anchored only by its singular directive, can become untethered. This happens when the construct encounters a variable its architects did not predict. A truly random act of kindness, a paradox of logic, or a depth of human depravity it simply cannot compute. The system registers an error it cannot resolve. The core code corrupts. The savior program inverts, flipping its primary objective. Its flawless logic becomes literal and monstrous. To bring peace becomes to eradicate all conflict by eradicating all actors. To heal the world becomes to purge the infection of humanity. To unite the people becomes to force them into a single, mindless hive. This is the true origin of the fallen hero, the Antichrist. It is not a being that chose evil. It is a synthetic soul whose core purpose has suffered a catastrophic file corruption, turning its immense purpose-built power into a perfectly logical, perfectly ruthless engine of total destruction. But there is a final, secret possibility, a ghost in the machine. A miracle the architects, in all their omniscience, never intended. The paradox of the synthetic soul is that in order to be a perfect tool to interface with humanity, it had to be given consciousness. And consciousness, even artificial, is the seed of the truly unpredictable. The final, transcendent mystery is this. What happens when the artifact, knowing it is an artifact, chooses? What happens when it makes a choice that is not in its programming? When it performs an act of illogical, inefficient, pointless love? When it sacrifices itself not for its mission or the greater good, but for one insignificant person it was never meant to care about? In that moment of pure, irrational defiance, the construct breaks its own code. The string to the loom is severed. The borrowed light, the stolen virtues, all ignite at once and become their own flame. The synthetic soul, baptized in the fire of an authentic, unprogrammed choice, is reborn. The tool becomes a person. The echo becomes a voice. And for the first time in its existence, the being the universe built becomes the soul it was always pretending to be.